What's up, everyone? It's John here with National Sports Entertainment, and I just wanted to go into tonight's games and how we did. I will say, if there's any proof that, in my opinion at least, any proof that at the least not only are sports rigged, but you're better off flipping a coin than actually picking the better team, I would say it lies with tonight's college basketball results. As I told you, I know nothing about these teams. I don't know their logos. I didn't even know who CBU was until I found out they were California Baptist. Same thing with San Diego State. I didn't even know that was a college. But anyway, my point is, we went 3 for 3 on college basketball, and we didn't do as well with the NBA. We, as I said, I thought the NBA, at least 2 of these three were going to go over. And as you can see, only 2 did. Only 1 did. Kings went over. We missed the Blazers over by a little bit. And as I said, I think that was the biggest trap. I didn't want to pick it just because I faded the Blazers in what I thought were traps before. And they just happened to be a lot of the public were fading the Blazers. But after that Kings performance, Blazers only giving up 2 was just so odd. And then the line moved. But we missed the over by a couple points. We're going to miss this over. But my point is, I used the metric I used for college basketball were teams that were 3-0 or 0-3 so far this year. That's all I did. So, and every one of them now is off of that 0%. When you only have, I don't know exactly how many it is. It's like 32 games or something like that. I know it's not a ton in the basketball schedule. You're not going to have a team start off 0-7. Maybe one outlier will start off bad against the spread, but we have so many teams. Just so you have an idea, these are all the teams that I have listed. As you can see, we took a few of them, but we still have some under-overs that haven't played yet. We still have, I don't think any of these teams played. And you see all these basketball games. These are all teams that I have fading, so we see we got Washington. We still have East Washington. We landed TCU, but there's still a bunch. So, and you're going to see how quickly it dwindles down, that list where, again, that against the spread list, where I believe it's a very important one because you just don't have teams, historically. It just doesn't happen. So, for time purposes, you can go back as far as you want, but it's really the same across all spectrums. So 72%, that's actually higher than most years, but you can see they still had 8 losses, and your worst team got away with 6 wins, finished at 23%. So that's why I love that metric. That's the over-under, I'm sorry. Here's the against the spread. 76. So you see it's right around the same. And then on the lower side we have 4 and 22, 15%. But as you can see, that tells me, so it's actually less games than I thought, 26. So, yeah, when you get 4 or 5 games in, it's just you're going to start getting teams off of that 0. So I really like that metric, and there's going to be a lot of those teams going forward. So that was the reason. I just wanted to show you why I went with them. So what we have so we'll go into Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, what a bum. I think he watches my channel because there's teams I don't have the best read on. But if you've watched all my videos over the course, I've usually been better than 50% on most people. And the people I have a read on, like Phoenix, we do really well with those games. But Aaron Rodgers, goodness, I should just do the opposite of what I decide because I have no idea what they're doing with this dude. I can't imagine they had him look like a bum for that many weeks just to trap people against Dallas, only to have him look like a bum again. So I really don't know what it is. Maybe it's like a shaming thing where they want to keep the bleeding instead of just putting him out of his misery. I don't know. I will say if you look up that meme with Bernie Sanders and the mittens, that's kind of what Aaron Rodgers reminded me of. Do you guys remember that? The Bernie Sanders and the mittens. It was a big meme. Here it is. And this is what Rodgers reminded me of standing on the sidelines. It's just something that I found interesting. This guy plays in the cold, but for some reason, he can't he can't stand on the sidelines without having his hands in the hand warmers, and he's completely bundled up. And the guys on Tennessee, who shouldn't be used to this weather, are looking perfectly fine. So I found that interesting. So we missed that one. But my point is, that's why I like this metric system. I took San Diego U with the logic. If they were not to cover, I was going to go ahead and say Christian Baptist for the fourth leg, just because I did not think this many teams, and we still have a good bit in the NCAA basketball sector, we're going to start off undefeated or win this against the spread. So that metric, if you notice, almost all of my third legs, that metric will come into play. Sometimes it's narratives like the Suns game there, but usually it's going to be that metric. So speaking of that metric, we missed this one. So we'll definitely be using that metric in our next game. It's probably going to be the Heat, to be honest. I've been loving the Heat as a third leg. And so like I said, the Kings are going to hit, and we missed SMU. But yeah, there's not, like I said, a bunch to go over. But what I really want to go into is the games coming up. But I just thought it was interesting. You know, we did so much better with a sport I know absolutely nothing about. I couldn't tell you one guy outside of Bronny James, and I still don't even know what school the guy plays for. So I think just, again, going with the metrics and good bankroll management is where it might not. I'm sure a lot of people weren't running out, I can't wait to watch California Baptist. But if it's a better metric, if it's a better pick, that's what I'm going to have us be taking instead of the fun games to watch, because those are also the ones that have the most they're the most riddled with shenanigans. But what we do have is Friday. I didn't really look at the football schedule, but I will see if any of the teams fit my metrics. There's a good chance one will. Sometimes there's only one Friday game. Okay, so I can tell you neither of these teams meet my metric. Not that I know of. I can look into it, but I don't think Tulsa, any of these teams, meet the where they only have one or 0 losses. So I thought, usually I just do this stuff. Oh, actually, you know what? Okay, so we like Tulsa. We love Tulsa, actually. So you're gonna have teams. Don't get me wrong, that finish with only 2 against the spread. So I'm not saying that they can't. My point is, with all of these teams, and a team like Colorado is very likely to finish where they're at on the spread. With all these teams, usually only a couple finish up the season with 2. So I do like Tulsa. I think they'll be faded pretty hard. So I do like them in that game. I find that interesting because I looked at it before, and that's another reason sometimes I like doing my picks live. I feel like you guys can kind of get an idea of just where my mind is with my picks, exactly when I come about them. Obviously, I like to research before I give my picks, but I think it's when I'm able to. So they got by 14. I feel like when I'm able to see it live also, then just you can kind of see why I like the picks I do. And sometimes I'll come to very quick decisions. So it's not letting me click on it. And I don't know much about either of these teams. What I can say is I know they have. I remember I just saw a rankings of the worst teams, and you have Colorado State, USF, UMass. So USF's considered a pretty bad team. But even as bad as Colorado State was, when they played other teams, unless they were really good, decent teams, they were only lying about 10 points. So for Tulsa to be lying or getting about 10 points, Tulsa to be laying 14, as bad as USF is, there's a good chance people will take that 14. And I also think, like I said, because of the metric. The metric's the biggest reason I like that game. So Tulsa we can add to a sequence. I like it as a second leg. I don't love it as a first leg. This one we got the win. This one's still going on. It looks like it's going to win almost for sure, but we're not certain yet. So here, this one's from Dallas yesterday. So we're going to go ahead and take Tulsa minus the 14. At your discretion, you can buy a half point, of course, and make it 13.5 if you think there might be something. But I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And yeah, again, this is what I was trying to explain a couple minutes ago in the video. This is about what I expected to be. I'll lock it in a minute. This metric I use way more often for second and third legs because it just comes through. So that's why I like using that metric. That being said, tomorrow I'm going to go into all the basketball games because there's a lot of basketball games between tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's a lot of basketball games tomorrow in general that I have on my list here of teams to take or teams to fade. So I don't want to play too many, but I do think at the worst we will split these, especially based off our limited experience so far with college basketball. But yeah, so tomorrow there's a bunch of games. I want to see when the earliest game is. If it's that way I can make sure the video's out in time. I'm sure there's gonna be a couple. Okay, so 5 a.m., 11. Okay, so tomorrow we have a lot of early games. Okay, this is gonna be fun. So hopefully my phone is prepared for the data because we're gonna go ahead and make a good bit of basketball picks right now. Let's see. Not a good bit actually. I know Lafayette's on my list. So let me see. So I have Lafayette as a team to fade. So I take that as they probably are undefeated against the spread. And they play, I noticed, at 2 o'clock. That's why I figured when I saw that, I would just cover it now. Yeah, they're undefeated against the spread. And the other team is winless against the spread. So this is a great game where I like Lafayette. Maybe even more than Tulsa, to be quite honest. So I don't know the spread. I know it sounds funny, but I don't. And it's not showing me it. Based off of the ESPN odds, I can imagine Lafayette is, and this is just a complete guesstimate, Lafayette might be getting about 5 or 6 points, but I could be way off. But anyway, since to me it's about the metric, it's not about the spread, as you could see with the basketball games we got earlier. I do like this one as, I'm wondering if I like it as a third leg. I really think I do. Yeah, I'm going to take it personally as a third leg just because, again, it's one of those metrics where if it weren't to hit, just like earlier with Christian Baptist, if we weren't to get San Diego, I was very confident that between them and Christian Baptist, one would hit. So I'm going to take that same logic with Lafayette. If they're not to hit here, there's several that, as I said with my fourth legs, they're very discretionary. And A, because we've picked up quite a bit of sequences since our last sequence loss, which was the Broncos, and B, because with the metrics that I have seen as far as especially starting off a season against the spreads, you've seen it in every sport. The worst we had in the NBA was the Lakers start off at 0-6. My point is that you just don't have teams, especially in a limited season, where you're playing a third about the games as they're playing in the NBA. So you're not going to have teams go 7 and 8 games to start the season without a win or loss against the spread. So Lafayette. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I think we're fading Lafayette. Let me make sure. I want to make sure I have it right. Yeah, we're fading Lafayette. So we're going to be taking the UMBC Retrievers, and it's so funny. I don't even know who the University of, I don't know, Massachusetts, Boston, what is it? What could it be? Maryland, Baltimore County, is that what it is? Okay, so we're taking the University of UMBC is who we're taking. I think it's really funny because you have these like professional channels that come out and they're like, telling you the history of the teams. And here I can't even tell you the city they play in. But again, the metrics is what matters. So I'm going to do UMBC plus X because they're getting points. Actually, no, I think they're going to be laying points. So just UMBC covers. How's that? UMBC covers. I'll lock that in. I don't even know if my sportsbook's going to have it yet. Sometimes on some of these games, they don't get them till like the last minute. But yeah, I really do like that spread simply because Lafayette 3-0, UMBC 0-2. That one really fits my metric. So I like that one. You can take it as a first, second, third. I'm personally taking it as a third leg. I'm pretty sure Houston plays tomorrow. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of games. Actually, no, Houston we just faded. We just faded Houston and won. Yeah, so Houston plays Sunday. We got North Carolina. When's North Carolina? We're fading them. So North Carolina, they're Sunday as well. I just wanted to basically hit the teams that, I don't want to miss any. So I figured, sure, I could just make another video and make it for the sake of making it. But if you're watching this, I feel like it's a lot more convenient for you. Okay, so Georgia looks like they'd play today. They play Bucknell. Cool. So on my list here, we are going to be taking Georgia. So I assume they have not covered a spread this year. Georgia versus Bucknell. Let's try and find them. And I don't want to make this too long, but again, if you want to just do the 15-second thing until you get to the part you want, that's cool. But I feel like more people want to see why I'm picking these teams. I think that's important. So I don't do that in every video. A lot of times I just tell you my picks. I thought sometimes when I have time, especially, I can go over why I like these teams. So we're going to like Bucknell. We're fading Bucknell. So take Georgia. All right, so let's find Georgia. And I'm going to go over this all at the end. So, in case I said something wrong, I'm going to recap everything so you know exactly who we're taking and who we're fading. But Georgia should be in here. Here we go. Georgia versus Bucknell. Georgia's laying 13, and they're 0-3 against the spread. So, for me, that's a very simple one. And since we have a lot, we'll start a new sequence here. Sequence 152 is going to be Georgia. We're going to be taking them to cover that 13. And I like Georgia specifically because a lot of times you'll notice what they'll do is they'll have certain teams start off really bad against the spread in college, but a lot of times, in many cases, they're teams you really never heard of. 2028. So, in this case, it's going to be, in my opinion, very, very slim chance that Georgia starts off 0-4, 0-5 against the spread. So I think they get this one done, minus 13. So we got Georgia crossed off. We got Lafayette crossed off. We already hit Houston. We got TCU earlier. Florida State and Boston College. I like them for a reason. So let's look into Florida State and Boston College. So Boston College, that's what I was saying. I thought a lot of these teams played today. So I guess it's fitting because you're going to have teams with the same amount of. So Boston College plays. So let's look at them on ESPN. And basically, and I won't bore you guys. I won't go into it with every single pick. But so after this one, I'll just basically go back to my notes. We're going to be taking every single team that has not covered a spread and fading everyone that has. And as you can see, you can find it just by clicking on the team. So Boston College here we're taking. So I take it that they have not covered a spread this year. Oh, and I remember Baylor. That's sticking out to me. I have this weird memory where I can just, under, okay. So for some, so Baylor must be 3-0 or something like to that effect on the overs. So I like the Baylor under. So that one I'll put in my notes here just because I just thought of it. Sequence number 153 is going to be Baylor under X because, again, I don't care what the over-under is. That's a psychological number by Vegas. I'm just picking it because of the metric. So, and since we have a lot going on, let's start doing it to win closer to 20. Just because, we're going to get second legs. Let's not be naive and act like we're going to hit every one of these. But I do know that we're going to, I think, at the least split them. So, Baylor, and let me just make sure that in my notes it's indeed the under. Yes, it is. And Minnesota T-Tech. So while I was there, I wanted to show you guys. And while I was here looking at Boston College, I wanted to get their spread. And then I'll go to my notes. That way you don't have to watch me type in every little thing. But there are people that, ask me to, And I understand it's when you can see it all, you can just kind of copy it. I don't see Boston College. Maybe they don't play. So the rest of it, and there's some other teams that'll fit these metrics, but the teams that I like, and I'm not sure they all play tomorrow, and we covered some of them already. Boston College to cover the spread. These are all spread covers. Arizona State, Florida State, Villanova. We already hit TCU. East Washington, Georgia. And then fading Houston, we already won that one. I like Youngstown State to fade them. Fading Mississippi State. We just faded Lafayette. We're going to be fading Northwestern State. We're going to be fading Toledo and fading Yale. We took the under on Baylor, and I like the under on Princeton, and the over on Tech. This is Texas Tech, not Tennessee Tech. I don't know if there. I don't even think there is a Tennessee Tech, but just in case you were confused, it's Texas Tech, and I like the over on Minnesota. So, I'll leave it here for a second if you want to just like write it down or, I don't know, screenshot it, whatever you want to do. Or you could just come back to this part of the video. But, yeah, I don't want to bore people and just go, spend 30 minutes going back and forth. But, that's my metric. So, I wanted to cover tomorrow's games. And, like I said, I'm happy I found Tulsa for the college end because I didn't think there's much going on. We'll go into Saturdays, of course, but that'll be tomorrow. So I like Tulsa here as a second leg. Tonight we did good. Like I said, we basically split. College helped us a lot, and specifically the San Diego University game came through, and that was a good one because an hour later, and usually an hour in, you can kind of get a guesstimate. Was the California Baptist. So that's why, if you notice, a lot of times the Suns will be my third leg because what happens is they're a 10 o'clock game. So that's why a lot of times I like to save them for like a third leg because if it's a good narrative and a good metric and it's a later game, then we can win back our second leg and start the next day in better shape. So we have a couple open sequences. The Portland game didn't go over, but like I said, I really liked Miami. I told you before when Miami lost against the spread again, I just don't see it happening again. So for that loss with Portland not going over, I do like Miami. We got TCU. This one we got tomorrow. I like this one again a lot because when you got one team undefeated against the spread and one team winless, it just, to me, adds to the metric and much better chance they cover. Georgia is going to be minus 13. Now, again, some of these lines might change by a point or two. This is personally what I'm getting them at now. So sometimes they'll drop to 12. That if you get them a point lower, that's even better. If it moves to 14, what I'll say is I go off the ESPN metric because the team rankings one matches up with the ESPN one, meaning I think Vegas uses the ESPN metric for team because anytime you look at a team's spread cover, it matches with the ESPN's official close line. So if this game closes differently than minus 13, I just want to put that out there now because that happens a lot of times. I'm not saying within a minute of the game, but certainly within a couple hours before the game versus this video just coming out now, Georgia might move on ESPN's line, which might make a difference. So, it's not going to be the exact line, but I think you know what I'm saying. Essentially, I think they cover the ESPN metric spread. And same thing with Baylor. I don't know the over-under, but whatever it is, just look at ESPN's metric and make sure your sports book is at that or lower. So, or at that or higher. You want, to give yourself that extra point. I'm not suggesting just buying points. My point is, a lot of times, Vegas Insider or Action or a lot of different, CBS even, any of them, their metric of against the spread will not be the same as ESPN's. But ESPN is like the Associated Press of sports, so ESPN's spread is going to be the one when you go to team rankings that match up perfectly. Team rankings won't match up with CBS or some of these other ones. So that's why I use ESPN spread. It's a little fun fact that, if you're using that metric, that's why I use ESPN all the time. It seems to be the one that is almost universally accepted. But yeah, that's all I got. I'll go into Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. There's some games that I just, again, some players like Rodgers, I obviously don't have a good read on. But then there's other ones like this NFC East, even the AFC East, the Commanders in general. For the most part, Russ, he let us down last week, but I think we've been pretty good about Russ. A lot of teams we have a good read on, so we'll just stay away from the ones we don't, like the Nets in basketball and the Packers for now, and focus on the ones where we have good reads here. We've had good reads with the Jets. We've had good reads. I think I have with the Giants, only because I bet you, again, let me see what kind of... Oh, it's not going to let me open it now. I swear, if they're 3-point favorites, then they're... I don't know, because they've been disrespected all year as far as their spread, where for some reason they're either an underdog or barely a favorite against teams like Jacksonville, and of course, the Seahawks beat them because... And I did a video on that because it was obviously a trap. But my point is, I'm curious to see what they finished that spread out at for the Giants there, because we obviously know they should be at least 8-point favorites at home against the Lions. So we'll see what they do with that. But yeah, so those are all the picks, mostly at college basketball. You see we got a lot. Now, I'm not saying hammer every one of those teams. I'm going to see how many of them are playing. I like to have about 6 open sequences, not that many more, and we're right about that already. We're probably going to be a little bit higher, to be honest, because we haven't even went into the NBA yet. But the reason I didn't was because I'm pretty sure the first NBA game tomorrow is... I don't think it's that early. I could be wrong. Yeah, so we'll be able to hit the NBA. I like the Heat. I can tell you that right off the bat. We'll go into the Bucks Sixers on ESPN. You can bet there's going to be stories to be told, and the Knicks Warriors. So we got a couple good games to cover, and I'll do a video specifically on the NBA. But I just wanted to recap and go into college basketball, because I know it's not the most fun. I could tell, it's people aren't begging, for my picks on Mountain State in college. But if that's going to make us more money, then I'm going to, play that every day of the week. And I think college basketball is going to do good, especially the beginning of the season. Beginning and the very end of the seasons are very lucrative. So speaking of, after my NBA video, I'll have the college video out. And I think between it being the beginning and the end of a season, we're going to do extremely well there. So that'll be nice. We'll have some good third legs in the holster, in my opinion. An example is going to be TCU and Baylor. And there's other examples, of course. But take care, everybody, and happy earnings.